Hello students, I hope you all are fine. So we'll continue with the next topic of our lesson, time and motion. So in this topic our next subtopic is simple pendulum. Children's simple pendulum is also one of the best sources of time measurement, which is worthwhile explaining in this chapter. So I'll explain you by the help of this diagram. See, this is a simple pendulum. This is the thread. It's suspended by way of a thread. And this freely suspended object, this freely hanging heavy object, it is called the bob. It is called the bob of the simple pendulum. And this position of the bob is called the mean position of the simple pendulum. This is a simple pendulum. A heavy object hanging by way of a thread suspended freely, and this heavy object is called the bob. The standing still position of the bob is called its mean position. Now, if the bob is pulled from its mean position towards A, suppose, and then it's left freely to move, it reaches the point B, and again it moves from B towards O and stops there. Or it moves towards A again. This way it keeps on moving. If it is pulled towards A, this way it keeps on moving. So this kind of motion is called oscillatory motion. And these two positions which the bob takes while moving in oscillatory motion or while completing the oscillation, these positions are called extreme positions. These are called the extreme positions. So this is the mean position. These are the extreme positions of the bob. Now, when it's pulled from this O to A and it's left, it reaches B, then it again moves towards A. So, this distance traveled, this motion from here to here, again from A to B and then from B to O, is called one oscillation of the simple pendulum. This is completed as one oscillation, and this kind of motion is called oscillatory motion. Now, what is the time period? Since it's a time measuring machine, so we'll discuss about the time period. What is time period? Time taken to complete one oscillation is called the time period. That means the time in which the bob moves from O to A, again to B, and then from B to O is called the time period of the simple pendulum. Next is the distance time graph. Next we'll discuss the distance time graph. So what is a graph? A graph is a diagrammatic representation. It depicts the interrelation between two quantities because it has two axes, this and this. Axis of graph, that means axis, the axis is the plural of axes. So these two axes together they are called axes. So a graph has two axes. So now I have a data here. On one column I have written the time and on other I have written the distance. So here time is 0 second, distance also 0 meter. 1 second 15 meter, 2 second 30 meter, 3 second 45 meter, 4 second 60 meter and 5 second 75 meter. Now I have made a graph corresponding to this data. In 1 second, this is, here I have taken the time in seconds. Here I have taken the distance in meters. Now, in 1 second, the distance traveled is 15. Between 10 and 20, there will be 15. In 2 seconds, the distance traveled is 30. In 3 seconds, the distance traveled is 45. In 4 seconds, it's 60. So, every time we see, in every second, it travels 15 meters. Suppose here it's 15, then 30, then 45. So, here, if we make a graph and if we try to draw a line of the graph, we get a straight line. Equal distance is traveled in equal interval of time. Again I repeat, corresponding to this data, if we make the graph, then equal distance is traveled in equal time intervals. So such type of motion where equal distance is traveled in equal time interval is called uniform motion. Again I am telling you, In uniform motion, equal distance is traveled in equal distance of time, and we get a straight line as the graph of uniform motion. Again, I have another example. Here also two columns are there. On one column time is mentioned and on the other distance is mentioned. So if I make a graph corresponding to this, see, in 0 minutes, 0 displacement. In 1 minute, it's 2 meter. In 2 minutes, it's 3.5 meter. Here it's distance in meter. And here it's time in minute. So if we take here in 0 minutes 0 displacement, in 1 minute it's 2 meter, in 2 minutes it's 3.5, in 3 minutes it's 4, in 4 minutes it's 6.5, and in 5 minutes it's 9. So every time we see the time is same, but unequal distances are traveled in equal interval of time. That means time is not varying, but the distance traveled is varying. And here the graph which we get is a somewhat of zigzag type. We don't get a straight line. So this type of motion is called non-uniform motion. I hope it's clear to you. In non-uniform motion, we don't get a straight line as the graph. Now, another important thing, what is zero speed? Zero speed means if an object is not in motion, it's said to be in zero speed. That's it. Zero speed is nothing. And in zero speed, the object will not be in motion. This is the graph corresponding to zero speed. Here time is moving, time is going on, but distance is not changing. Distance is the same. So we are getting a straight line. So this is the graph of an object having zero speed. That means an object not in motion. It's in rest. Time goes on, but the distance remain unchanged. So I hope the lesson is clear to you. It's complete. And next I'll approach you with the question answers and exercise of the chapter. Till then, take care. God bless you.